Hello, MGTOW. Hello, men. This is Howard Dare. Thanks for stopping by. So, I want to talk about why a woman is your boss. That's right, your boss. In particular, I'm talking to you. Actually, I'm talking to most men. If you work in an office, if you work in a larger institution, especially a government institution, if you work in a private industry, why is it that human resources is in charge? Human resources. Yeah, there you go. What a term. You're a human resource. Congratulations. And increasingly, women and others are being moved into positions of authority. Why? And further, outspoken independent people within an organization are being driven out. Why? It's an important question, and we're going to get into it. But first, let me say thank you to everybody who's been stopping by, liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing, even donating. I really appreciate it. Please consider subscribing to the Howard Dare channel. It'll help me out, and I would really appreciate it. Okay, let's talk about why women are being moved into positions of authority more and more. You know, I've done a number of videos on the subject of men and women in the workplace. And what happens is that the standard of performance within the workplace shifts. It shifts from a productive, results-oriented evaluation to an emotional, social, group dynamic, human resources evaluation. This is why there's a lot of friction between the men and the women in the workplace. The women and the people who have not earned their positions want to be judged on an emotional, social, group acceptance basis. How well do they fit in? Do they say and do the right things for the corporate culture? The people who have earned their positions and who look at the world as a place to overcome objective reality and be productive have a much more mature and useful mindset. It really is two different ways of looking at the world, or rather, the emotional group dynamic way is not a way at all. It is the default. It is what people simply do. Whatever culture you're raised in, you adopt those values and those principles. And part of that is this in-group bias. And part of that is that if you run afoul of that, you are ostracized from the group. You are kicked out of the game, assuming that you have a culture where that is the dominant way of looking at the situation. I think most of us can understand why a giant corporation would adopt the most liberal, extreme social views and yet govern themselves by a balance sheet, by a profit and loss sheet. In other words, socially, within the group, within the herd, the corporation is going along with the majority, but its real motives are to still be true to its profit, to its productivity. Understand that these cultural movements, they can take off like wildfire. Understand that you can affect more change within Western civilization through these types of cultural marketing movements than you could through other more like forceful means. And further, understand that in this day and age, this ability, this power is available to you. This is why the mainstream media calls fake news, because anything that disagrees with their centralized view, they don't want to hear it. They don't want to allow for it. And yet the driving engine of these networks and movements is open, free, peer-to-peer, open source communication. That's why these networks grow. Free markets, motivated self-interest. That's what motivates the productive individual. Now, once a system has been created that's so productive that you can support and take care of a dependent class of people, again, they come into the culture, whether it be corporate, government, a family dynamic, and they attempt to invert the values and say, oh no, the most important thing is not getting results and making sales and making a profit at the end of the month. The most important thing is that nobody's feelings are hurt, that everybody feels like they're part of the group. And further, understand that there is a movement in place from very powerful forces, media forces, really wouldn't know how to characterize it. Political interests, an unthinking mindset almost, which gives a presumption of moral authority. This is as a result of going along with the group. In other words, whatever values the group adopts, and everyone assumes that that's the proper way to go. And the values have been and are being inverted away from productivity and results to people's feelings. What control that offers to people who can't even do a good job, Imagine if the whole world was run by gossip. And so the person, flying your plane is not the qualified pilot, but the person that people like the most. And you know that this movement, it's true. It's part of this whole affirmative action, diversity requirements. Again, with the presumed idea that whatever the group suggests, it's automatically the right and good way to go forward. I am a systems analyst by trade. A few of you will understand what that actually means. Unfortunately, I analyze and break down every system I encounter. And when there's problems, I see them. And there's a problem. You've got two different ways of looking at the world. And I've covered it. An objective, productivity, overcoming obstacles with an objective reality way, which is essentially a masculine way of looking at the world. And then an emotional, a dependent, a in-group bias way, where you invert the values. And the cycle is that the productive people, they produce a civilization. They build the walls. They build the industries. They build the companies. And they become huge. And they are able to sustain an entire class of people who would not otherwise be able to make it. And then as those people become more and more, because they are not being governed by any sort of natural selection anymore, but rather, their natural selection is the sympathy and empathy of the productive class. And those are the men. That's what's happening right now. The men are the ones being taxed. The men are the ones whose jobs are being randomly taken away and given to other people based on diversity, which is an industry unto itself, which I have to talk about, because it's destroying each individual industry. It's destroying the medical profession. It's destroying the legal profession. It's destroying finance. It's destroying everything by putting this emotional requirement. And, one of the most ironic things to understand about this is that this class of people, they can't even come into existence until you've already built the system, until the system has already been functioning for a very, very long time. It's almost like this built-in fail-safe that the more advanced and capable the civilization becomes, the more it reproduces a dependent class of people who want to tear down the standard, the value that's used to assign value to people. And we've seen this before. You can honestly say that a kind of Roman Greek way, a scientific way, a somewhat harsh way of dealing with the world gets inverted by Christianity itself. This is a recurring theme here on the Howard Dare channel. But I think it's very important that a man understands how this comes to bear in his life and in his situation and interactions with people. So if you're trying to be productive and overcome reality, objective reality, and get results, and you're dealing with somebody who is a dependent upon the system that got their job through some sort of diversity quota, who uses their position within the group and their emotional connections as the standard and judgment of value within the group, understand if the productive, hardworking individual runs into that person, there's going to be a conflict. It's not unlike a decent person encountering a corrupt government bureaucrat. And I'm suggesting that the person who wants to be productive and overcome obstacles within reality is the virtuous person, that this is the virtuous way to move forward, and that the person going along with the group, although, they're lazy. They're not. This is a fundamental question. Are people who go along with the system, who do not question the system, and therefore have status within that system, are they good people if they don't question the basis of that system? And so if a person does nothing but just goes along with the group their whole life, they never stand up for anything, they never stand against anything, and they never question it, and therefore they are well liked within the group, what's that? What are they? So the reason why she is your boss is because we are moving from a system that we built based on being productive and overcoming obstacles within objective reality. This is the basis of science. This is why our buildings stand. This is why our networks work. This is why the great industries, the great fields of Western civilization have so transformed the world. So that system, those people with all of their capabilities are used to serve the interests of people who don't have those abilities. And they use an in-group bias, they use shame and emotional sentimentality to manipulate and control this other group. And this dependent group keeps getting bigger and bigger because there's no restraint on their behavior. And this productive group keeps getting smaller and smaller. And that's what we're playing out right now. And that's why she is your boss. That's why somebody who doesn't know anything about your field is your manager. And it's not just like government mandate. It is the personal preferences and biases of your boss. And from a corporate point of view, it's probably the smart move. There's too much at risk. They have too much to lose to not appease and acquiesce on these ultimately meaningless points, since their goal is long-term profitability and sustainability. So I hope this allows you to see the source of this conflict and how it's going to play out even within your individual life. That's the basis of these videos, that your understanding of the situation allows you to maneuver, take steps, engage in particular daily action that frees you and puts you above this system. And we're going to make more videos along that subject and those lines. But I'm going to leave it at that for now. So let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, donate. Check me out over on Facebook. Check me out over on Patreon. I would really appreciate it. And join me again, Howard Dare, as I plan to have more content for you. Thank you, everyone.